Hi, I'm Jay Mendez Napier, and you're here for my first episode of Artist Inspired, Artist Made, where we're going to take a look at some of my student work, maybe some of my work, maybe some of your work, as well as famous artists that may have inspired this from the past. Well, at least they've been doing something very, very similar. This is Kyle's work. We've got our darker green for that shadow coming across that field. All of his points are moving towards a vanishing point, which happen to be exactly where the light source is coming from. If you have been using a ruler, awesome, but if you don't have one, use a 3.5 by 5 card. Use the edge of a book. Use your folder. Use whatever it is that you have to make that work. Here is another piece. Love this one. Vanishing point still in the center, but our light source is offset, and so our shadows are falling at an angle. Darker blue, obviously if the water's blue, we're going to make it darker blue. We have the land over here, which is green grass, and so it's darker green there. Totally works out, love it. For those of you who love cats or shinsu, you have cast shadows. I was talking about this with a student, where do we put the light source from? Why don't we just go ahead and make it come from the top? So if it's coming from the top, it's coming down, it's casting shadows underneath our cats, underneath our lettering. It looks like because it's darker on this edge, that it's obviously coming from this area over here and creating that light effect. All right, so here's one of my faves. Totally love this. Speaking of, if you type in famous perspective art, you're going to get some of the best artists that have been working in this fashion, well, for a very long time. 3 of those artists, Edvard Munch, Vincent van Gogh, Raphael, they're going to pop up and you're going to see their artwork and you're going to understand that linear perspective that's going on. But one of my faves is a guy named Giorgio de Chirico. So Giorgio de Chirico, working in a surrealist movement, his shadows are not always doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing in the real world. So for us, we're looking for things to be perfect, but that's not always going to be true. This is art. Take an opportunity to be creative. Go ahead and recognize that maybe some darker brown across this brown, but the fact that gray is being used here instead of brown is very fun. And this offset tilt that was created where our vanishing point is moving to the side of the page gives us this really interesting look. Again, that's Giorgio de Chirico. Type it in, look it up. You have the entire library of the world at your disposal. Go ahead and use it. I'm not going to share those images with you. Find them out for yourselves. Take a look at them. Be inspired. And last but not least, a more minimalist piece. Totally worked out really, really well. Light from our moon is coming down, casting our shadows. Our vanishing point is somewhere off in space in the background. Light casting from our tent. Totally in love with this piece. Love the use of the light blue, dark blue to show that shadowed effect. And again, it has this very odd, surrealist look that you'll find in a de Chirico work, where shadows should be doing something that we would expect them to do, and they aren't always doing it. Last but not least, if you're cooped up at home and you're trying to figure out what to do, I shared this with students a while back. They were a little awestruck. It's just a tack. And I'll tell you what, the thing that they did immediately after was, how did you do that? I find it very interesting, the things that fill our time now. I didn't have an Xbox, a Switch to carry with me, a phone. I had an Atari 2600 that plugged in at home, but when we were at school, we spun tacks. Sounds weird, sounds crazy. Share it with your students. It will be hilarious to watch them try. I'm not even going to show you how I did that. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. It's part of the fun. Again, this is Jay Mendez Napier. Thanks for watching my first episode of Artist Inspired, Artist Made. Hopefully you're following along with the other tutorials where I'm working on 1-point perspective and moving into 2-point perspective in the very near future. We're also going to be working in our next episode of Artist Inspired, Artist Made in watercolor. So hope to see you. Subscribe below, and thank you for watching.